7 Kidpower strategies to keep your child safe. This video will look at Kidpower strategy number 2, keep your radar on. And I must tell you that this video series, as you know, is in collaboration with Hands and Voices and with Kidpower under the larger Our Children project. And the reason this project was begun was that so many parents didn't know what to look for. They didn't know how to recognize a risky situation or to recognize that their kids were unsafe. And what this next Kidpower strategy does is help us to begin to realize how to watch out for our kids. So, given that brief introduction, Irene, thank you for being back with us. Please tell us more about this second Kidpower strategy, keep your radar on.
In order to protect our children from harm, we need to pay attention to what is happening with them, and we need to stay in charge of who they're with, what they're doing, and where they go. This means that we need to be able to drop in at any time so that we can see what's happening with our kids when other people are taking care of them. Now, sometimes people will say, but kids act differently when you're, when you're not there and when you are there. And in that case, we can ask for guidelines about how we can be present in a supportive way without interfering with what's going on. But we need to feel welcome to be able to see what's happening with our kids. This also means being aware of the kinds of behavior that might be unsafe for children, such as somebody trying to get them to be alone, giving them special favors, singling them out for special attention, unless it's the kind of relationship where that makes sense. But certainly in any youth group or professional situation, this is unsafe behavior or potentially unsafe behavior. And of course, somebody trying to tell kids to keep secrets about behavior is unsafe. Kids also need to know what to do. And for example, there was one boy with developmental disabilities who was coerced by kids who were acting very friendly towards him into stealing a cell phone from his teacher. And he didn't understand that somebody being friendly is not the same as someone being a good friend. And so teaching children what's the difference between safe and unsafe behavior in other kids or in adults can make a real difference in their ability to make wise choices and to avoid problems. We need not to get trapped by what I call the illusion of safety. This is when we feel so comfortable or something seems so familiar that we think, well, it's got to be safe. We just assume it. One very powerful story I had was from a pediatrician where kids had come and there was a party and kids were using his family's swimming pool. And the parents of one child left and a child almost drowned in the pool in front of everybody because there was that illusion of safety. So many people are there that nothing could possibly go wrong. The same thing can happen when we have children walking in places that are familiar to them and to us, but without the skills that they need to protect themselves. We want children, and we practice with children how to use their awareness by having them practice walking away while an adult behind them is doing something silly, and having them look back and actually report what they saw. Even adults have trouble seeing something and reporting accurately what they saw. And so it's a skill to develop in children. We also want people to learn how to use their intuition, to pay attention to uncomfortable feelings, so that they speak up and act on those feelings instead of ignoring them or pushing them away. And we can prepare children to start to understand what uh-oh feelings are and give lots of examples from our own life, from stories, in ways that are positive rather than scary, so that kids can start to understand what their intuition means, and we can pay attention to our own intuition. I have one story that happened when my daughter was young, and suddenly, I don't know why, but I felt compelled to go back to the person that was providing daycare in her home. And when I went, then she was about to load my daughter in the car to go over the mountains and take my daughter with her to a medical appointment. I think there were subtle feelings, subtle signals that all was not well with her. And something just told me, go back now. And I did. And I was so glad that I did, because that was not a situation that would have been good for a 1-year-old or for any child. It was not an appropriate use of child care. So having those feelings and noticing them, insisting on answers, is going to make a difference and it's what we mean by keeping your radar on.
Thank you, Irene. As you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that so many kids with disabilities have a lot of adults in their lives, a lot of individuals who are providing care, and those kids and their parents are dependent upon those adults, those professionals frequently, to provide that care. And you don't want to do anything that would make them angry or to think that they aren't welcomed. And so sometimes we tend to be even more circumspect around, those individuals. Maybe we would be someone else because we're so dependent upon them. But what you're saying is that anyone who has access to our kid, we must have access to them. And we can never let our feeling of we're imposing get in the way of our kids being safe. I thank you for this second of the 7 Kidpower strategies, and I encourage you to watch the remaining strategies because the safety of our children depend on it. Thank you.